Sandesh, you want to go
Not you
first?
want. Yeah, sure, I can. No, of course you can run. There is no challenge as such. Major challenge, I would say, because from the skill perspective, if you are a marketer, if you're a digital marketer, obviously, the kind of targetings that you're looking for. But I think the challenge is again, I think which will come and eventually depends upon the kind of industries you are operating in, right? I am right now in gaming, right? I am building that thing for US for my company, right? So a lot of regulation sometimes comes in picture, right? And then it becomes difficult because the channel that you are aware of, right, might not be available for you, right? So if I have to divide the challenges in three pieces, it's majorly it in three areas, right? One, the knowledge of the channels, right? Sometime whatever channels that you're working very much aware about those channels which are there in India might not be available for you in those countries because of certain regulations, right? So having that in-depth understanding that okay, what else you can do, right, is very important. That is first. Second comes, which is I think very important, is on the communication side, right? So you might running creatives content, right, basis your knowledge of your geography, right? So you know that okay, how you can reach out, how you can create content which can help understanding the people who are living, let's say, in India, right? But let's say if you're going US, if you're going Europe, right, you need to also understand their consumer psyche, right? What exactly they are looking for, how exactly you need to deliver that thing, whether it's a discount that matters, or whether it's informative USP that matters to that particular audience. So that again becomes very important. The second piece, and the third piece is, which is I believe little bit post your campaign, the adoption of your product or service. So let's say you are showing something which is the right TG, you are also communicating on the right front. People who are coming to your product, or who are using your product or service, might not be able to relate it properly, right? So you also need to understand and start looking those metrics, like the retention metrics, the other down funnel metrics, which is important, which again, and benchmarking what you have in India and what you're doing right now in any other country. Because you can do all the right things from the marketing side, but until unless the people who are coming and interacting, if they're not using your product properly, obviously you cannot have a proper business over there. So these three things are important. And I think to get the understanding of all these things, few things a marketer can do, obviously read about that market, read about like personally, I have asked my team to do few things, and that has helped us a lot. There are a lot of attribution channels, right, which already have all these data of channels, which are the top channels which are working. Here you can see great results, right? Channels like your AppsFlyer, CleverTap, right? So have discussions, ask their global team to come and discuss those nitty-gritties with you. And the last thing also you can do is, like, let's say you've started and you have certain users on your on your app or on your product. Just have I think some discussions, like initial discussions with just initial 5-10 users, to just understand how they are understanding your product, where they're thinking it correctly, whether they're liking it, whether whether they're not liking it. Just have a very open discussions with them. So all these things will definitely help you. And then you can obviously get us great success running campaigns from India for a global market.
Kunal, your take on this?
No, I mean, I think Sandesh covered most of it. I'm just reading the question all over again, and I think the answer lies in the question. So the short answer is yes, but I'm just reading one phrase out of it, that a lot of global brands plan and try to run campaigns without local insights. So, like when I said, the short answer is yes. Technically, yes, you can. From a campaign management point of view, technology is advanced enough that I can sit here and run campaigns across the world. And I have, in fact, for my startup, which I didn't launch in India, I launched it in Indonesia and all those. I sat here in Gurgaon and I launched those campaigns. So the short answer is yes. The longish answer is, while technically you can run the technical side of the campaign, what will you run is the question, which is that you cannot do it without local insights. So I learned it the hard way after running and
Marketing
spending.
probably.
not just that. Okay, so after running and spending tons of dollars in trying to understand and mimic what those local markets would work with, so the hack I put in is I hired interns, college interns from those local markets. So when I say what you're gonna run, it's the communication that you're gonna run, the offering that you're gonna run. See, at the end of the day, the product is a product is a product. And it's a very simple transaction. If you want to buy the product, you have to give me money. I don't care what currency you give it to me in. But if you want to buy it, you give me that. But how do I convince you to buy the product? Is the easiest way to do it is in your language. So if, for example, I am selling closer to home, if I'm selling something in HSB, so I was part of Dainik Bhaskar and ABP News, which is the Hindi news channel, and I was running their entire digital campaign. Now, if I'm trying to get the HSB to adopt my brand, I cannot do that using really polished English or really wacky or whatever. I have to understand the sentiments of that market. So summing up my answer, short answer, yes. Technically, of course, you can sit here in your home and run campaigns across the world. But the most important thing is what you're going to run in terms of communication. And that cannot be done unless you understand the local insights. Yeah.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Very logical. In fact, just to add into it, I was recently talking to my counterpart based on in Japan, and a key insight I got from them is if you're planning to run conversion-based campaigns on LinkedIn, for Japan, LinkedIn is not the place. People are not active on LinkedIn. They are super professionally very active on Facebook. In fact, on a funny note, the guy actually told me that if by any chance you come and travel to Japan anytime, do wear a good quality of socks. And I was very curious to know why. So he tells me most of the places, if you go out for a lunch or a dinner, they ask you to keep your shoes out. And very interesting question. I don't deny that at all. It's a lot more confusion. In fact,
also
I have
slang works. Colloquial language works
Yeah.
brilliant. So I give you an example. In Indonesia, we did Google Translation run campaigns. So basically, whatever we were running in India, we used Google Translate and we were running those ads. I mean, I was getting a conversion not more than 1.5%. The moment I hired those interns who took my messaging in English and the slang, they started putting it in. The moment the slang came in, I was converting 15, 20%. I mean, I had some close to about 3.5 million downloads in 6 months, just because I completely colloquialized my language. So it works. I mean, you have to have those local insights.